Sweet.
Perfect. Sounds good. So hi everyone, welcome to this week's Thoughts on Thursday. The topic today is initially called Why We're Mentees, and we've expanded that brief to really try and understand actually what's going on in the industry right now and how can young people be supported through the community and connections they need, skills, competencies, job searching. What kind of support should be out there for people to access in those kind of crucial job searching days and then years 0 to 5 in the industry. So we're really excited to have two of the kind of founding mentees of the community, Salva and Anuja, join us today to share a few thoughts. And then we just wanted to have a pretty open, honest discussion about what do we feel like young people in and entering hospitality will need in the next few years. And then obviously, frankly, kind of where we think somewhere like the GrowthWorks can best serve to support with the power of the mentors we're kind of putting together who are generously giving their time and expertise to give back to an industry that they love. So we're definitely kind of keen to get started. Saba, do you want to go first? I'd love to. You're safely back on campus in Switzerland. We're excited to hear it. As a final year student, it'd be great to kind of do a bit of an intro, tell us about yourself and some of your thoughts on the industry.
Sure. Yeah, so my name is Saba, and I think I've been with GrowthWorks now for what 4-5 months, something like that. It's been a long time, I've kind of lost count. But I initially joined the GrowthWorks mentorship program through my university, La Roche, which is where I'm studying right now. And like James mentioned, I'm doing my final year. And I joined the network to kind of gain momentum because I was feeling like I was in a slump because I'll be very honest, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm really interested in and which direction I'm going in. And I've actually spoken about this before on some of my mentoring sessions with one of my mentors, Sandro, and he kind of knows that I am interested in several different things like revenue management and also some parts of tech and things like that. But joining the GrowthWorks kind of helped me discover a few other things that I wasn't even really aware existed in hospitality to begin with, and that's kind of the reason that I'm here and that I'm continuing. It's also easier to learn from people rather than try to do everything by yourself and learn especially from the experiences of people. So that's one of the bigger reasons that I am I'm expanding my how do I put this, my connectivity, because La Roche is very well connected. It's a really good university, and you can meet a lot of people through La Roche, but it's better sometimes to branch out, in my opinion, and kind of get out of your comfort zone like I'm doing right now. And I always have a little bit of stage fright, so that's why I might babble a little bit here and there. But that's the point. You get out of your comfort zone and you learn and you speak to people, you make mistakes, and that's why I'm a mentee personally, because it helps to learn from people. And even if someone doesn't have the right advice for you, they always have some insight or the other, and that's why no time is ever wasted reaching out and speaking to people. And that's personally my opinion, a little bit about me, and I can pass it on to Anuja to give her opinion and her introduction as well.
Thanks, Sal. That's great.
Yeah, it was great. I don't think you need to be nervous about anything.
I'll try.
I'm Anuja. I have been with the GrowthWorks, like James mentioned, since the day it kicked off. I think I saw a LinkedIn live about it. And I've been in hospitality since 2018, and it would be safe to say that I obviously totally love my job. I'm based out of India, and I'm the duty manager at the Sofitel in Mumbai. And I'm also hotel operations mentee with Microlara. He would be, I think, having the next week's session that he'd be hosting with us about mentors. And apart from work discussions, you can always hit me up if you want to know about some new music, some good books, and to discuss plans and obviously fitness. And I think I joined GrowthWorks to essentially network in the industry, because since I joined in 2018, since I joined the industry, I realized that human networking is one of the key aspects of hospitality. If you want to even to grow in the industry, you need to know people, you need to have a good rapport with them. Obviously, your your work quality has to be exceptional as well. But networking goes a very long way in corporates, in hospitality as well. And apart from that, it gave me a very vast global perspective of hospitality, since there are people who are coming from different continents, from different backgrounds, from different hotels, which give their opinions, and there are amazing topics that we discuss. So it really opened up my mind to many new possibilities. And I would also like to mention there was a point that Sabha touched about the concerns in hospitality industry right now. And as a key speaker today, I would like to say from the millennial point of view, the concern that I have seen since I have joined is um, young managers, I feel, should work on making associate experience that's as enjoyable as the guest experience. The old staffing standard that we have in the industry, I think, is now become as unpopular as hotels without Wi-Fi. I mean, industry managers have a tough time recruiting and keeping the much needed younger workers. That is why I think we are the industry with the most turnover. We cannot retain our young population. That is because I think the generation Z that we speak about, they're not really aware of the hotel jobs in their local area. And sometimes they don't even view a career in hospitality as the one that they could be really proud of. Because I believe there are certain aspects that the millennials view the hotel and lodging industry as as if we are stuck in a time warp, which requires long working hours with few benefits and showing low tolerance for young employees' needs for a work and life balance. Since I believe that since we are working take an example of a restaurant, we need a lot of physical labor in the industry, so young people are more stretched out when it comes to such jobs. So I think it always is not the first preference when it comes to a career option, hospitality. And I think that is the main concern right now when it comes to long working hours, or there is no work life balance, or the older managers, we, like I said, it is a even technologically, the industry doesn't seem to be as advanced as compared to other fields. We need to introduce more technology, at least in our backends. I completely understand that it's all about human touch in our industry, but it definitely has to have more technology integrated so that our backend processes work smoothly. I'm talking about core hospitality departments like front office and F&B and even revenue, for that matter. Anything else, Sabha, that you would like to add?
Yeah, I'd just like to touch on another point about a bit about like awareness. Because the thing is that ever since I heard about hospitality, I for me, hospitality has always been hotels. Like you think of the word hospitality and you think of the word hotels. Many people I know think that I'm studying catering, which is really much further than what I'm actually studying. I have subjects like finance and economics, marketing, business management, things like that. And catering is a completely different thing. And I feel like another problem with Anuja mentioned, that people are not proud to have careers in hospitality. It's mostly because many people don't know what hospitality really is, and that's an issue. Because as a student, okay, as someone that has been in hospitality only 2 years by extension, obviously not as a career yet, I'm still not completely aware of what direction I can go in terms of what's basically possible with as someone with minimal experience who wants to begin in a less operational stance. As much as I appreciate operations, and yes, it's the heart of the industry, without which you can't really have anything in hospitality. My interests are more towards like the back end, more towards revenue and marketing, consulting, finance, those kinds of things. But like yesterday, I was speaking to one of the career department people in my university, and I was explaining to her that I'm so confused because I am not aware of my options. I know that I want to work abroad. I know that I want to get international experience before pursuing a certain type of career, and I want to learn more things, new things. But that's difficult because there's less awareness to, about what's not traditional. What's traditional is going into operations, building your career up from there. People don't really talk about the non-traditional part, and I think that's a very big problem, because in today's day and age, there's not just you go and become an F&B manager, and then you go into become F&B director and become general manager, and then maybe you go into the corporate office, etc., etc. It's much broader than that, and it's not just that one vertical direction. You have many different horizontals which are unexplored and not really talked about. And I think that's something that I would like, that's one of the reasons I joined the GrowthWorks as well, to learn what's out there, what as a beginner, as an absolute beginner, what I can do with myself and where I can grow my skills, and how I can be an advantage to whichever company I end up working at, wherever I end up working. So that's one thing that I wanted to touch upon as well.
Yeah, really interesting. Great. Well, thanks both of you. I thought that was a fabulous kind of kickoff to the session. I think some amazing points there. Lots we can kind of dwell on. I'm going to kick off with a little poll, if that's okay, to kind of fire us into the discussion. And if anyone's got any questions, please do put them in the chat, or it's a small group today. Feel free just to wave your arms vigorously or do a waving emoticon. But I'm just going to launch this poll. I realized actually I think you can answer all 3 questions at once, which is not quite what I had planned, but we're good multitaskers. Don't laugh, Patrick. So question 1 is, where do you go for industry information? So I'm conscious there's a wealth of stuff being put out there. Great podcasts. We have a podcast host in our midst with Pablo, which is great. Lots of industry newsletters. You're probably getting stuff from the university. Then of course there's all social media. Would love to know, where do you go to absorb industry news? So feel free to go ahead and vote on that one. That would be great. Then I'd love, next up is, what do you need to be successful in the next 6 months? So what do you feel like needs to be something you latch onto? Is it that you just need to know more people, have a wider network? Do you feel like you need to have a bit of a personal brand, and you're thinking about, should you be hosting webinars or writing articles, or just kind of getting out there? Is it something in your skills you're thinking about? So it'd be great if you could answer that one as well. Then got soft skills. Do you need, frankly, some interview practice? Do you have a problem at work right now that you want to brainstorm? Do you need a bit of a development plan? Do you need to kind of help work on actually what is your career path? Sabi, you made a great point about, well, actually, I've been trained in this, but I know there's more out there. Or actually, is it just a bit more self-awareness and knowing your strengths better? And then lastly, is just a question of how are you feeling about work at the moment? Whether you're going to be looking for a job in the next 6 months, or you're already working for yourself or for a hotel company. Just interesting to kind of get a sense of where people's heads are at, from kind of positive to kind of okay, to concerned, to actually end game. Like I'm just really low right now, and if I could have a chat, that would be useful. So I'll let you. So 4 of you have done it. Anyone else just want to go ahead and click through. 5 of you, 6. I'm guessing maybe I'm one of them. No, I'm not one of them. So 7, cool. And then I'll give you 1 more second. If you haven't done it yet, feel free to click through. A wave if you need more time. Okay, we've got 7 out of 8. That's pretty good. So I'm just gonna let me share those results with you. I think it's kind of interesting, and we can use it for discussion. So the first thing we're hearing is that where people go for information, industry newsletters. Let's definitely chat about that, because it may just be that some of us have subscribed to ones that other people aren't. That could be a good one. And then LinkedIn, keen to hear kind of and how people use that. Friends and colleagues, I love the network thing. What do we think it takes to be successful in the next 6 months? Pretty much everyone is saying it's about expanding your network right now. I think that's great, really interesting. Personal branding, learning new skills. This is great. I wonder if I get this afterwards, or if I might screenshot it now. And then how are you feeling about work? Okay, really interesting. Great there's still some positivity out there. And then I think everyone else is kind of middleish, right? We can all see what's going on, and obviously we know we're going to navigate it. That's great. Really interesting. Okay, let's jump back up to the top. I'm really conscious that just getting information is going to be important to people. So maybe we just start the discussion there. We've got 2 young mentees who are kind of thinking about where next. As some of the more experienced people from the industry, or young people who are kind of out there and networking, what resources are you finding most useful at the moment? What is it on LinkedIn that you do in terms of groups or messaging? Or what industry newsletters impress you the most? And feel like will be able to help you navigate the next 12 months or so. Any thoughts?
Is the question directed to just all of us?
Oh yeah, it was for everyone. Sorry. Yeah. It was to those people specifically who said, 6 of you who said that they use industry newsletters a lot. I'd love to know which ones. I know that, you know, for me, something like Focuswire is pretty good. Oh, Angelo, go for it.
Yeah, I say what I'm using. Obviously, I don't know if everybody knows, but I'm with the cruise industry, so we are going through a particular terrible moment right now, and what we are actually following right now is the website from CLIA, which is basically a sort of corporation of all the cruise line. All the cruise line are partner of CLIA, at least all the major cruise line, and all the major information are shared with the website. So if I'm really interested to follow up or to go deeper in some discussion, that's what I'm gonna look at it. And obviously LinkedIn as well is a good sort of information. There is not much about cruise line, but there is definitely a lot about hotel and resort brand. So there is a lot of information that actually been posted like that. Mm-hmm. And another website that I'm looking at it is SRT, I think it is. Which is basically information mainly for hotels and resorts. They give you statistic about the selling of rooms and all these kind of statistics that that can actually help you. I think is the majority that I'm looking at it is for Florida, for the United States, because that's where I'm going to be based soon. And that's what we're looking at least in my little cruise world.
Really cool. Yeah, I think Pablo, thanks for posting the list. I think STR, I think is great. Yeah. And actually, right at the start of the pandemic, they had regular webinars, which were also then posted on their website. So they would just dive into performance. And one of the things we're working on with a lot of hotel chains is their 2021 planning. And so people who are desperate for data, it is a pretty good sense of how fast things are recovering, and that's good. Pablo, do you want to share the others that you've named to give us a bit of an overview of what you use them for?
Yeah, these are the ones I usually read daily. So it's Skift. With now it's paid for, so you can only really read the highlights or 3 articles a month or something like that.
Yeah.
That's Gift, is it, Pablo?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, bastards. They went and made it subscription.
Yeah, and then hospitalitynet.org also I tend to read daily, I guess. At least the highlights. And then the rest is coming mainly from LinkedIn, YouTube videos, webinars, podcasts. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. No, really good. And how do you use them? I mean, do you just skim them every day and just see kind of what's going on, what people are talking about, what the trends are?
Yeah, I mean, I'm subscribed to them, so you get them daily. Get a quick overlook. If anything is interesting, just click in there on the highlight. The challenge with social networks like LinkedIn, anyway, is that you end up having more information on the people you tend to like.
Yeah.
So your feed ends up being just the same 10 people every day. So that's a challenge.
There's an interesting way that, and those filter bubbles that you refer to, you're always going to get the same information if you're constantly engaging with that information, because I think you want more of it, right? The way that I kind of get around that is I use something called Feedly, and I think some of you might have heard of it before or whatever. It's any of those, they have their own kind of RSS feeds that you can plug in there. And they're all the ones we got that we talked about, Skift, hospitality.org, all those other different ones. Feedly is the kind of, it's a reader for these things, and it puts them all into one place. So then, you're not getting overwhelmed with a whole bunch of emails coming and hitting you when you don't want it. You can choose when to go in and view the articles, and it takes you directly to the site. And to James's point, how do we use that? My focus of that is first thing in the morning or last thing in the afternoon before I'm kind of finishing up and sort of don't have much energy to do anything else other than read. And you just read through it and you go, okay, how does that apply to me? What does that apply to me at all? Right? So you see an interesting article around Vietnam or something. Oh, actually, that's interesting. Why Vietnam's starting to open up? Okay, well, how does that work? Then I go and look at the IATA websites and I see what, well, how is that opening up for international flights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you can build your knowledge from that. Reading it is interesting and you can get a skim of everything that's there. But actually, it's quite interesting to hear or see how could it affect you, and could it potentially change your direction of travel, exactly as you guys, Saba and Anuja, have been talking about now.
Yeah.
And for me, for example, since that I'm leaving almost 5 hours of my working day in a continuous conference call, because we are working live, because lots of things are actually happening. And we need to take decision really on a fly sometimes. There is a lot of rumors and a lot of things that actually have been decided, or things that actually are on a draft. And I'm looking at some website just to make sure that these rumors they will actually become a confirmation. Because when actually they appear on this particular website that I start to talking about, usually there is some ground there. And obviously it's actually more, you need to read between the lines, if you know what I mean, and you kind of try to extrapolate the actual truth. So with that, is actually help you a lot in making some strategic decision, because everything really is very unstable right now, at least on our industry.
So I don't normally mute. There's a police helicopter outside. So a question for you, nothing to do with me. So building a personal brand and building a network came up quite strongly. How do some of those you that do this, how do you use the stuff you read potentially to do a bit more networking or getting out there on LinkedIn? Is there something in the way that you share it or comment on it? I guess it'd be really interesting to see, does that kind of stuff pay off in terms of, I suppose kind of getting a bit more known, or is it just about writing your own stuff? Keen to hear those of you who are building your networks on LinkedIn, thinking about your personal branding. What's worked? Would be kind of my next topic. Pablo, I've got to start with you, Pablo, because you have a podcast. No one else has a podcast here. So.
All right, fair enough. It works, yeah. You get a reach of audience. I mean, I do it both in Spanish and English, so depending on the post, I have a different audience, obviously. I try to keep it even, more or less, one episode in English, one in Spanish, assuming that whoever speaks Spanish is going to understand it in English, so they can watch and understand all of them, not the other way around. And then in terms of reaching people and get yourself known, what it's worked for me this year, it's starting to write articles for, in this case, the biggest hospitality Spanish magazine. Mm-hmm. So I started to write pieces for them, obviously for free, on their opinion part of the online newsletter, regularly. And then I got noticed by the main editor of the magazine, and then she thanked me for contributing regularly, and then she interviewed me for the printed edition of the September-October magazine, and that got a lot of traction. So
great.
Put it online.
So if I understand that process, you just started writing yourself, kind of unpaid stuff that interests you. You promoted it, and then eventually it got picked up. And anything in the way you picked your topics or the way you kind of got them out to the wider world that seemed to work for you. Again, if we're thinking, are we saying to kind of the next generation of hoteliers, do start thinking about writing your own stuff and getting it out there.
So, I mean, usually what I do is like, I have Feedly as well, as Patrick was mentioning. So I might see an article and then I start digging, and I have 3 or 4 of them. And then from my experience on what I'm reading, I create a piece of content.
Yeah.
Usually it's related to what I.
Yeah. And I think, Pablo, that's a great example. If you think about linking to how we build our brands, get known for something. And if you don't know what you want to be known for, that's probably how you start building the brand. What do you want to do? What do you think you do? That doesn't mean that you're stuck having to do that for the rest of your life, right? It just means that this is what you'd like to be known for now. So then go and find articles that are kind of pointing in that direction, that are interesting to you. And then I think the part where Pablo is saying is have an opinion.
Yeah.
You know, so just sharing an article actually on LinkedIn, even if it's a link to another page on LinkedIn, it gets virtually no traction because LinkedIn doesn't want you leaving LinkedIn, so they don't necessarily like you having external links in there. So you can put it in there, but have your own opinion around that. That'll get you more engagement. And to the absolute minimum of that, I don't know about you, James, but anytime I interview or engage with someone around that, I see firstly what their profile is on LinkedIn, what their headline, their bio, and so is. And then the next thing I click on is what are they interested in, and what do they see, what are they commenting on. And if you think about a potential employer who's kind of trying to think about what you are, am I going to hire this person or am I going to engage with this person to invite them for an interview? What are they interested in and what are they passionate about? You don't have to always be right. You can post something going, God, this thing just, I'm not sure what this one came up for me and I'm not sure whether what's right or wrong. What do you guys think about it? Get the engagement going around that and people then will engage with you. And it shows that you can look at them, engage with their audience, and you can build your network that way. So it's a great way of continuing to widen your own network just by showing that you have an interest and a passion in something.
Yeah. I think I'd always throw down the gauntlet there and say, look, if you're a final year student or you're looking for work, or even if you're in work right now, challenge yourself over the course of the next month to actually write something, right? Actually write something that you care about or are thinking about or that's on your mind, even if it is some of this uncertainty or something simple like where you go for information, and get it published. And I think one of the things I'd suggest is if you want a safe space, just publish it in the GrowthWorks community first, right? And maybe get a bit of feedback there, but then feel brave and actually go and get it published on, go and put it on LinkedIn or go and put it on medium.com. They're another really good place for kind of blogs, and do share it again amongst a community who I'm sure will help kind of promote it and get it across. But I think do something like that. Because I'm with you, Patrick. I think anyone who is looking to employ someone right now, that it's those small things around personal branding, standing out from the crowd. Do you have a point of view? Do you have a bit of a following? Do you have stuff that you've put out there? I think that is critical. Do you have a slide deck from university or your old job that you can share? Do you have an article that you've written? Do you have a bit of video? Anything at all, I think really will help. So I think that's...
I think the other way to think about it also is to kind of go, okay, your audience, the people that you're trying to get to attract, what are they interested in? So if you're in, I selfishly, I can go, I'll talk about revenue management, distribution, and so on. What's their top? What are their hits at the moment? What's important to them? Well, then go and look for articles that are around that. So from a distribution perspective, it's all cloud-based. It's all, how do we have a sort of not a closed ecosystem, a thing with lots of open API and all these other interesting things. Well, if that's interesting to you, learn about it and then look at people who know about that, pick up their articles or pick up something and say, look, this article was pointed there. My point of view is this, or this is what I'm thinking about. That could be a way to just start engaging. You're showing you've got an opinion and not shy about it. Not everyone's going to agree with your opinion, but that's where the discussion comes in. It's great.
Yeah, and it drives engagement, which is exactly the point, right?
Yeah, and that flip between, as Pablo does a podcast, great engagement. I was actually coaching someone this morning, and he's not in the hospitality industry, but he posted his first article last week, and he's quite a senior finance guy. And he says, yeah, it hasn't broken the bank. I've got 25 views of this post. And I was like, well, 25 views, that's not bad. But he said, yeah, but out of that, those 25 views, I've got two meetings, 2 virtual meetings, and one person who said, let's talk. So it's not about getting hundreds of thousands of likes. It's about, if it's 30 people, but 3 of them actually engage with you, one of them just has to offer you a job, right? Or whatever you're looking for. So it's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, no, agree. So one of the things we've been touching on is obviously kind of what next, and we've definitely touched on Thoughts on Thursday that this industry is potentially changed forever, right? We know it's cyclical and we know there are ups and downs and we know it will come back. I think we all have that optimism, and that's really why we're here and where the GrowthWorks community came from. But I think we're saying, look, there's going to be a different approach to driving more total revenues, working better across teams, multi-training, being more efficient, a bit more tech savvy. There's a few trends that are probably going to burst through and be here to sustain. So just a fairly open question for the group, really. what support do you think you need, right? Looking at that, what's next? And Sabi, you made a great point. Potentially some hospitality education is grounded and a little bit more traditional, but actually maybe even that's not fair. There are modules on some of the more tech stuff. But as you look to the future, and I guess, Laura, I'd love to get your perspective on this as well. What do you feel like you need to know or be exposed to kind of be more successful and have a first, really great first start to the first few years of your career?
I'm in a very similar position to Saba, I would say. I'm also trying to find a way out of operations. I feel that it was maybe not, maybe just because I'm curious about what else is out there, and operational jobs. And somehow I'm missing a longer term project or group work or the kind of stuff that goes in behind the scenes. And that's probably because I have a bachelor in business and a master's in hospitality. So then that's why I want to connect those two and get back to the kind of behind the scenes. And what I would need for that, I guess, is understanding of what those paths are beyond revenue or finance, I guess. But I mean, I do see that it's really just about finding a niche, finding some different jobs here and there, and then eventually you'll land a kind of niche job that fits you. Networking. I should probably do a course or two to just bring back the subjects that I did in school and remind myself of them. I feel like I've forgotten everything in a year, so maybe take one subject and really become an expert on that. Or for example, I'm really into sustainability and I'd love to see a huge change in sustainability in the whole industry, so maybe I should take that as my kind of what I'm all about and what I want to be looking at, and really make sure that the next job I have is a sustainability related one.
No, it's interesting Laura says that about taking up studies again, because I have had a lot of my friends who have graduated with me or who've been working for a couple of years who are jumping back to education now, given the pandemic and given the entire job situation. Because if we see the educational trend, from the financial point of view, the tuition fees always go on increasing every single year, no matter what. So this is, I think, the right time for young generation or anyone rather to, do the masters you always wanted to, or, apply online and study from home or complete your degree that you wanted to always do. So there are a lot of people and friends of mine who have started applying for their MBAs and their masters and are using this time hoping that when they finish it in a course of around 2 years, approximately every degree that takes 2 years, the life should be back on track then and there will be jobs available again. But since this is a first time situation for us, I don't know if anyone can assure anything even after a couple of years in the industry. So
It'd be great to learn some more, but at the same time I feel like I'm very educated and yet I'd like to just get out there and work, but then again, what kind of work that is, there's also to have an essence to the work, like where I can learn more and more. Is it in the same position as I was before or something else? So
all right, just go on, Sam. Anuja, go.
Oh no, please, I would love to hear it.
No, so just listening to you speaking there, I was struck by perhaps a way to think about it is to flip it on its head. What are you interested in? So what do you really want to do? If you took away the hospitality industry, and I'm not saying leave it, I'm just saying if what really interests you? You said you've done a bachelor's, you've done a master's. What really interests you? What really interests you in that, in those elements, or what really interests you just generally? And then go, okay, what in the hospitality world could fulfill or scratch that itch? So I'm just thinking, I think, Saba, you talked about technology, or sorry, might have been yourself, Anuja. You talked about technology and not very good in the industry. Well, actually, there are great technology products that are out there, but we wouldn't necessarily think about them, meetings products, these online meetings apps, maybe not the ones that are going right now, but, is there something around virtual meetings that work? I attended 2 days ago. I think there was an Oki deal library announcement or big launch that they did. Really interesting. So I don't know whether Oki are hiring at least, but hey, that could be something from a technology perspective. If that's what's interesting to you, you could sort of engage with that. Hospitality related will take your skills that you've got there, but broaden them in a tech world. So I'm just thinking perhaps there's a way to flip it on the head and think about it in a slightly different way. What could you offer? What do you have to offer? And then what could you do? So
it's actually funny that you mentioned that, Patrick, because that's kind of also what I was talking about earlier, that hospitality is more than just what's in itself. There's so much like surrounding hospitality that you wouldn't even think about that is possible to go into after getting a degree in hospitality. Like, it's not just about working in a hotel or around a hotel. Forget about just operations, even the back of the hotel. It's not the only two things that exist. It's like you have revenue management companies separate from hotels that you could go work in, or you could go work in, like Andrew was actually telling me this one of the times that we spoke, that there are so many tech companies out there that hire hospitality graduates because it's so much easier to make them understand how to use their products and then like teach other people, rather than having like, the smart tech people going and out and teaching other people, because they might not necessarily have the understanding of how to deal with people. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that they are, I don't know, zombies or something, but like, like it's just easier to teach someone how to teach someone.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we work a lot with the hotel tech companies, particularly on how they grow and support bigger chains, because that's their challenge. Often easy to sell to an independent, but big chains are complex beasts. Right. And I think they love hotel people as salespeople because you really get it. There's a lot of empathy there. You know what it's like to do night audits. You know what it's like to be checking in staff and taking calls and dealing with a queue, and how actually if there was a solution that helped with that, it would be fantastic. But not everyone wants to do sales, but also there's this customer service piece as well, which is actually just kind of using the product and adoption, which is just much more chatting to people in the chains. And I think a lot of these companies have had big challenging years as well, right? Obviously, a lot of them make a percentage of the money they make for their hotel chains, which has dropped hugely, or they've had to kind of compromise on price. But a lot of them are venture capital backed, and so there is still investment capacity. So your SiteMinders, your Muses, your Okies, they're all still hiring. Absolutely. And they're often hiring virtual roles. And I think it's just really interesting, and I think about it a lot for the GrowthWorks as a community. How can we try and put people in the right conversations so that they can be useful to each other? And honestly, having come from a kind of a tech-funded startup as well, it's not really daunting. It's not, there is a bit of language around what the product does, but the problems they're solving are all problems you have faced as hoteliers, so you'll get it straight away. So it's an interesting one. So I don't know how we connect the dots so you understand what jobs are available, what transferable skills you've got, and frankly, where you've got gaps. So actually, you know what, maybe I do need a bit more understanding of how all the different bits of tech may fit together, or how someone may adopt it in a hotel chain. I guess I look to the others for answers perhaps, but I think that's a really interesting piece, is how can we help you on that journey? And then the final point I'll make is it may only be temporary. If your dream is to work in hotels, maybe let's just go and get that experience for a couple of years and accept the fact that you may not be in a hotel company right now and it's so tough. But I think the door will always be open. And frankly, in 2 years' time, if you come back to a hotel company and you know how technology works, you're probably going to be right on trend for the kind of skills they're going to need for the next 5, 10, 20 years.
Yeah. In my opinion, one of the thoughts that I was having while Patrick and Anuja and Laura mentioned all of these points was also that I think one issue is that hospitality is not as direct as other industries. For example, in medicine, that you can become a doctor, like there's that name to the role, and you can become, I don't know, a psychologist or a therapist or a vet, but you don't have exact roles in hospitality. It's just your skills that kind of take you to a certain place. It's not really you don't know that, okay, this is where I'm going and this is where I want to go. You kind of have an idea of, okay, this is what I'm interested in, and this is the general area that I'd like to go towards. But that's kind of where that's where I'm having trouble, right? That's why I mention it, because like I mentioned yesterday in the conversation that I had, she told me, she was saying that figure out what areas you're interested in, then figure out what brand you'd like to kind of work for in that area, and then figure out what location you like to work in to get the, kind of like the triangle of the experience that you're looking for, because it's not easy to pinpoint a particular job name, as such. It's more about what you're interested in. And I think that we as like beginners and graduates, undergraduates, would like, I think it would be useful for us to be educated on that, on what's available out there as well, rather than just our actual literal education, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think coming back to Laura's point as well, it's just not straightforward. And I suppose, I think, between Patrick, Pablo, and a few of us, we could probably do our best job of saying, look, these are all the kinds of skills and kind of roles that are out there. But I'm sure even we would get it wrong. And the route to get there is certainly not that doctor, lawyer kind of thing. I mean, to Laura's point, if someone wakes up and wants to work in sustainability, my view is for the last 10 years, that's probably meant the sustainability team within a large hotel chain. So there's probably 50 roles like that in the top 100 chains. They're small teams. But I bet that's not what the next 5 to 10 years means for sustainability, right? There's lots of startups in that space who are coming up with phenomenal tech around energy management, waste management, reduce, reuse, recycle, that will all be growing. There's frankly just operations teams in hotels that will just have to work out how to run leaner, right? And it's just, okay, you have to service all these guests with half the money you had. Well, sustainability is going to be a big part of that, reducing paper, reducing waste. So it's almost like you don't quite know how that's going to evolve, but there'll certainly be consultants in that space. It'll be part of lots of people's roles. Again, miles away from the doctor route, from, okay, this is what the next 10 years looks like. But I bet, Laura, if you got going, like contacting a few people you were doing stuff in that space, offering up a chance to do a bit of a project or just get some work experience with them while you're also interviewing, writing about it, exploring it, you'd be instantly up there in that top 10% of people who this is something about. Link that, especially that link with sustainability to efficiency, because cost saving efficiency is probably the only language hotel chains are speaking right now.
But Laura, actually, what you were just talking about there, it's James, it reminded me of something I see on LinkedIn. One of the guys we used to work with at IHG is in Oman. He's a deputy general manager, I think, or EAM, Neil Schenk. And if you look at him on LinkedIn, he is massively all over the sustainability part. It's not his job, right? But he's all over it. And I'm wondering whether there's a way that you become that leader. If I don't know what your circumstances are now, if you're in a job and so on, but if you are in operations, can you become the leader in that operation from an operational standpoint around sustainability? I mean, he is brutal about it. He is forcing his supply chain in Oman, which is not exactly the most forward thinking around that sort of stuff, to be greener, much greener. He doesn't want plastic coming into the hotel. If they can package it up in a different way, he's forcing them to do that. So he's really being quite active about it, and then talking about it. So, if someone at IHG corporate head office wanted someone who has operational experience of bringing sustainability to life at a property level, and they're looking for a job for that, I mean, the first guy they're going to go to is Neil. They're not going to go anywhere else. Why would you go? You've got a guy who's an expert and you've been talking about it there. So that could be one example of how you could expand, how you could sort of explore that option.
Thank you so much. That's very encouraging. Thank you very much. Also, the fact that you were saying that, just think about what you're interested in and turn it upside down. That's really important. I think from the hotel schools we've gone to, we have this quite funnel mind, a traditional way of doing it, and that's why it's encouraging to hear from you. And just remember that it's okay not to go the traditional way. And I keep having this kind of pressure that, okay, I need to do my 5-10 years in operations until I can do anything else. But at the same time, I feel like if you've really done, if you've at least worked in a hotel, you know what it is and what it's like. So
it's such an outdated way of thinking now. But there are still people who think like that, who will go, oh no, I need to have someone who's got hotel experience. Do your hell.
Yeah. But then we have to listen to ourselves, and the world is changing, and just be true to what is important to yourself.
I bet this is where this is like your private mentoring session, Laura. I think if you were to pull together your thoughts on sustainability and hospitality right now and offer it up back to Glion as, look, can I come in and kind of share my thoughts with a couple of classes for half an hour, they would bite your hand off for it, and straight away you've got a recording and content that's then you can blog about and is on your social media, and suddenly you that personal brand that we were talking about, it's there, right? You've been valued enough and your experience is enough, and obviously we work very really close with Glion and La Roche. They love it when their alumni go back. They love it that it's I'm starting to understand. I can never fully understand how tough it is out there right now, and so you probably don't feel like I'm a roaring success right now, but you still have your passion and you've still had your experiences, even though there's been a hiccup around this. If you play that back to Glion students right now, they will actually look to you as inspirational and a beacon of hope, even though you probably are not waking up in the morning feeling like that right now. So it's I guess that's kind of why the community is here. We're really trying to kind of lift you up, even when you don't feel like it. But I think if you put some thoughts in that, and again, more than happy for you to come and share those thoughts with our the GrowthWorks community first, but I'd really challenge yourself and go back to Glion and say, can I come and share some thoughts for 15-20 minutes and record it and publish it? They'd love it. There you go.
I think another thing, just to add up on what Patrick actually mentioned, I think is very important, especially in our industry, in hospitality, because sometimes it's a little bit, old mind. The status quo, it's very important to be challenged, especially right now, because from what I can see from my chair, challenging the status quo is actually helping having great ideas. And we really move forward because we don't accept anything as it was before. Now, nothing in this world right now in 2020 is as it was before. So this, I think, is a very great opportunity, and I'm sure James mentioned that before, to challenge the status quo. Now is the moment. So people that is actually stuck in the past, fine, but the world unfortunately goes ahead, and that's the only way. So I'm very pro challenging the status quo. It's very important. So go for it, Laura.
Yeah. And different thinking is brilliant. I remember, James, I don't know, I can't remember whether you were at IHG at the time. We used to have that MD, Richard Hartman, who sadly died. But he always used to say the most exciting thing that the hotel industry has done in the last 20 years is learn to fold the toilet paper into a triangle in the rooms, right? And that was probably slightly disingenuous, but it does speak to the whole that they're not very tech savvy, and we take a long time to get different to start thinking differently. Well, actually, now's a great opportunity for people, the younger hoteliers that are represented on this call, to challenge the old farts to think in a different way, right?
Yeah, 100% agree. Pablo, you had a point you wanted to make from the chat.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know, it was mentioned by Saba or Anuja about making the staff enjoy and making sure staff enjoys as much as guests do. Mm-hmm. It was mentioned at the beginning. Thing is, like last week, a guy approached me, like he must be like 23, 24, and he had this business idea of creating a consulting firm to deliver emotional salary to employees. Mm. And I was like, okay, how do you monetize that? It's like, okay, it sounds very nice. And I was confronting him. It's like, well, you go now in the current situation to a hotel telling them, I want to coach your staff and part of the salary is going to be emotional salary. I was like, it's challenging time to sell that. But his young mentality, I'm not at all, but anyway, it was like, well, our generation need that. We expect that. We want to enjoy our job and we want to have that balance, work-life balance, which maybe all the generations don't have. And we might expect that in our contract. I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
I think that's a really interesting one. I think times have probably got a lot tougher than that person may realize, but I think for me, where I would go with it is there is a balance young people unfortunately going to have to strike between, you know, getting experience and getting paid. And I think everyone needs to try and be open and honest. But I mean, I use the example of us of, you know, I had a freelancer offer up her time, and I said, look, I can't pay, but if you could do this piece of work as a test, then I might be able to bring you on. And that's exactly what we've done. And we now use her on a paid day rate. She just approached me out of the blue and said, look, I can do the first thing for free, so you can see. And actually, it was fast, it was on brand. I just described it in 5 minutes and she played back exactly what was on my mind. I was like, yeah, that's you know, compared to the thousands of people on LinkedIn who contact companies, it's like, I could do this if you pay me. It was just a really fresh approach. So I think, but you're right, I think there's a lot more we get out of a job than the money. And right now it's trying to find that balance, that we do need this experience, we need stories for our interviews, we need to upskill, we need this network and personal brand. But of course, frankly, we obviously need bills to be paid as well. And I think it is a tough thing to balance. So last couple of minutes, I guess I'm going to kind of throw it back to kind of where I think the GrowthWorks heads at. What role does mentoring play in all of this, do you think? So like, what would you expect of a mentor over the next kind of 6 to 12 months or so to help you? I guess if it's okay, I'll ask Anuja and Saba and Laura, and then I'm happy to kind of throw it open to everyone. But it'd be great to get your thoughts. Anuja, you want to go first?
I think at the early stages of your career. Hello?
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I think, like I said, at the early stages of your career, if you're really serious about it, you can feel extremely lost. Because when I joined 2 years back, I was recruited as a management trainee. So I had this set number of tasks that I had to do, and I had to prove myself and prove my worth and prove that I'm worth it, getting a manager post and all of that. So it is always good to have a mentor who is someone who helps you see a different outlook on different issues, problems, or even any circumstances. And I think it is very important to have one at any point in your life, not only in your career. As human beings, we obviously would appreciate help at any point of time, but having clarity because of experience is very important. And I think in the core departments in this industry, experience is what counts. Even when you think about it work-wise, even if you don't have that degree, or if you're not educated enough, but you have a great experience in certain brands or in hospitality or working in hotels, then you would be recruited much more quickly. And mentors, I think, as we go ahead in life, mentors will share their experiences, and since they are not immersed firsthand in any situation that you are in, they can provide invaluable help in those difficult situations.
Thank you. Saba?
Honestly, for me, I think the role a mentor plays is basically kind of like career support, you know, getting to learn from their experience and seeing how they've got where they've reached is really important to me, because that kind of helps me you know, outlay like a path. It's obviously there's no like I said, it's not like a you know, how do I say, sequential road, but mapping out you know, a professional's career is really interesting in kind of figuring out what direction I personally can go in. And I think like Laura mentioned, for example, about sustainability, there's no set rules and there's no set you know, kind of answers, but like what mentors can do is say that, okay, look, this is what I'm doing now, this is where I used to be, this is what I did, and you know, I learned from so and so things, and I'd like to help you figure out as well. And you know, obviously it has to come from within. You have to be proactive and ask the right questions, and like, you know exactly what it is you can learn from your mentor, and go kind of basically prompt them to help you as well. It's like a two-way road, in my opinion. So that's basically what it is for me, getting experience and answers.
Thank you. And Laura, we've obviously called on you lots today, but any perspective to share?
Yeah, definitely, that knowing to ask the right questions, that's really important, because the mentor can't read you and what you need. So that, and then also just being that kind of being able to bounce back ideas, because the industry seems to have quite a strong structure until now, and we need to challenge the status quo. Being able to have that kind of echo back to hear, what do you think about this? Am I completely wrong, and does it make sense? And learning from the experience. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. Any other final thoughts from the group? No? we'll have lots more time to discuss, I'm sure. That's great. We are out of time. Thank you everyone for your contributions. For me, that's incredibly insightful. You know, I think the world's moved on from when we started the GrowthWorks Network 6 months ago. It was very much like revenue management, sales. How do you do this in a crisis, right? And I think we all recognize now it's okay. This is a real change we weren't expecting. The expertise of you mentors who've been through it before is still critical, but we're actually calling on you for different areas of your expertise. I don't need a revenue management leader right now. I do need to understand that, but actually help me carve the path ahead, help me look at options. I think it's the jobs of the mentors getting harder, but we always appreciate how tough it is in those early careers to be walking to this industry. But please stick with the community as we continue to try and kind of be useful. You know, share it with friends if you think anyone else will need a chat. Do reach out to new mentors. We've got that Find a Mentor channel. If you just want to grab an hour with someone new, like Andrew Wheel, to talk about technology, or someone who's kind of been in ops before, or someone who's also passionate about sustainability, I know that they're there to grab half an hour with any of you. This is the time for giving back. You would not believe how passionate these mentors are about giving back to the industry that's given them kind of so much. So you're always welcome to reach out to new people. In the meantime, good luck, have good weeks. Can't wait to discuss next week's topic with you, and obviously see you on the platform. Thanks for your time. Big thanks to our presenters, Sabra and Anuja. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
have a lovely weekend.
James.
Cheers.
It's
Bye.
really nice talking to you guys. See you. Have a nice week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.